Welcome to The Source with your host, Dr. C.T. Curry, and co-host Coby Owens. News all across the nation. The Source. Stay in the loop in the city of Wilmington, Delaware. Work together for change in the community. A call to action to find the resources. The Source, the latest in news.
Good evening. This is Dr. Curry.
This is Coby Owens.
And welcome to The Source. Coby, this has been an interesting week this week. We got yet another double shooting in Wilmington. Before I even talk about that, let's figure out, or let's talk a little bit about what is going on with these double shootings and triple shootings in and around the city.
Yeah, so two men were transported to the hospital in stable condition, but they were both shot around the East 24th Street area of the northeast side of Wilmington. One was 39 years old, one was 17 years old. Mm-hmm. And again, this is the fifth major shooting that we've had in 8 days, dating all the way back. Honestly, I would even include in there the shootings we had in Halloween, and that would take it up to almost 15 individual shots. So again, we are seeing a huge spike, a spike that you usually see during the summertime. We are seeing a delayed response to public safety here in the city of Wilmington. Things are getting very bad. It's getting worse. And it seems to be very little being done to stop the ongoing violence right now.
Do you think it's a lot of gang related violence? Or because I heard, through the grapevine, we all got our own sources of where we get information from, that there are some people who had done some of the violence and they went to jail for a minute. They came back and then they are being shot now. I mean, is it more gang related, you think, or is it more just people getting people back, or what do you think?
No, I definitely think it's ongoing gang relations and dispute over turf and things like that. People trying to reclaim their areas as well. So again, you have to have a plan, right? You can't just have someone sit in jail and do nothing but plan about what they're going to do when they get out, right? It has to be more rehabilitative instead of just punitive, right? Once they're out, right, you have to help them with the wraparound services so they don't go back in to the same life that got them in trouble in the first place, right? So again, that's one way to stop recidivism. That's one way to stop the ongoing violence. But then also for the people who haven't been to jail yet, right? A lot of them lack the resources they need to change their lives around too. But it seems as though if you look at it, over my way, our community police have been reassigned to the east side, which means there's less police over our area. Where have most of these shootings been? In this area. That's
the area where you are.
Well, this isn't my district, but this is very close. All the community police from this area where all these shootings have been diverted to somewhere else, where they're building and developing at right now. Again, this is what you get when you have.
Coby? I mean, are you saying that's troubling right there?
Oh yeah.
So you're, just to make sure I'm understanding you, because people are listening to our conversation. So you're saying that we got the data that a lot of violence is going on that east side. So you made a comment that the police have been diverted somewhere else.
Yes.
That's where I'm lost at.
We're no longer a priority to this administration. Again, it's not election time anymore. And this is what you get when you have a failed mayor who only knows how to build things. So of course you want to protect your assets. So they are building over East Side right now. So that's where the police have been diverted from. We did not see huge spikes, multiple people getting shot until this administration decided to change up the strategy yet again and move the cops out of key areas.
So now there has to be some blame laid at the foot of the chief as well, if this is true, because the chief has a right to say, no, we're not going to do that, or resign.
Well, that is true, but you serve at the pleasure of the mayor. The mayor is the overall boss of the police department.
I wish that we can get some data that would be able to verify that, because then I would really raise the alarm, because you there is got to be a reason for all this spike in shootings, and it's kind of happening in the same area. And if you're saying that the cops are no longer there, that's a problem, and that's a serious problem. And I would hate to believe it's because the election is now over.
Oh yeah, we've seen this from the mayor over the last 8 years. He tries to get support in the area, and when he doesn't, he gets upset. He holds grudges. He pulls back city resources, whether it's public works, public safety, whatever it may be, for the area. He sits in meetings with community leaders, and not just me, because I think it's very clear we don't get along, but also with civic association presidents, with neighborhood planning association presidents that say, well, I didn't win over there.
Oh my gracious.
He holds grudges like that. And I hope and pray that the next mayor, even if he didn't win a certain area, that he still is a mayor for the entire city of Wilmington. I think Carney will be that.
Yeah.
I hope he will be that. But again, this current administration has not lived up to that dream, and has failed a lot of residents here in the city of Wilmington.
Yeah, and when we speak of racism and a racist person, it's not always about the color of the person. In my view, it's really about their activities and how they act and do. I do believe that Carney is going to be a good mayor. I just believe it. It has nothing because he's old enough. Well, I shouldn't say old enough because he's younger than the current mayor, but he's been the governor. There's areas he did not win. He seemed to have managed well. He's made sure he was surrounded by people who understood community. Whereas this current mayor is just really literally out to get those who do not support. That's really narcissism.
Yeah,
it's scary. It's scary that we see it on a magnetized with Trump, but I'm not too sure if he's on a smaller scale. He's a little Trump.
Yeah, I mean, if you think about it, at the end of May 30th, 2020, he spoke at a rally that then turned violent. That we saw buildings in the city of Wilmington lit on fire. We saw looting and everything after Mayor Pazicki spoke. But then when we had a peaceful protest, he tried to make all the blame on us, even though ours was 6 days later. It was peaceful. We had thousands of people. And we went on to push for legislation to get done, not just in the city level, but also across the state as well, too. He called us out-of-state agitators, even though I lived here all my life. Unlike him, who is from Newark, Delaware, who moved here after he was done with his county council seat out there. So again, it's just real interesting how him and his team tried to spin narratives and everything. But the truth is the truth. We have video footage of you speaking at rallies that didn't turn violent, right? It's just like Trump, but yet denies, right? So again, it's sad that we have to deal with this within politics still.
Yeah, well, I'm praying for the families that are constantly having their children. Thank God no one was murdered in this last episode of the two who were injured and you see that's on the east side, which is east side part of the 24th Street.
Yes.
Okay, that's on the east side. Yeah, so that would happen on last Thursday for those who are watching us. And I don't want anybody to think, well, it just happened last night, but we record, and as we record, we certainly share the news. There's one update, and we promise that whenever we get updated, it seems like they are giving us a little bit more information, and that's good because now we can just keep pushing forward, and that means somebody's watching the show. But they are giving us a little bit more information. There's 3 was charged in the September shooting of some teams in Wilmington. What do you know about that?
Yeah, so on September 9th, ununiformed members executed multiple warrants. On September 9th and 8th, executed multiple warrants in which they arrested a 20-year-old, a 14-year-old, and a 16-year-old.
These are babies.
Yeah, they're young.
Yeah.
In response to a 16-year-old who was shot and transported to the hospital in stable conditions, okay. But again, they were able to make the arrest in this. So far, what they have been charged with is the 14-year-old has been charged with assault and conspiracy. The 16-year-old has been charged with assault in the first degree, possession of a firearm and ammunition by a person prohibited, 2 counts of it, possession of a firearm during the commission of a felony, conspiracy to the second degree, 2 counts of that. And then the 20-year-old is being held in jail as well. And he is being held on possession of a firearm during the commission of a felony, carrying a concealed deadly weapon, reckless endangerment, first degree, 3 counts, and discharging a firearm on a city street. He is being held at Howard Young Corrections Facility on a $75,000 cash only bail.
It's like it's almost you get a reward for being able to shoot people, and it's just horrible. These are young people, 14, 16, and 20. Just one just out of high school. The other 2 are still should still be in school. Right. One in junior high and the other in high, but yet they are resulted to a street of crime. You talked about wraparound services earlier today when we were talking. And one of the things I do in prison as well as out of prison, I am very much an advocate that we have to find a way to engage the community with services. I know we can't give everybody everything, but if we can spend millions and give tax credits for all of these people who build all these buildings for rich folks, then I certainly believe we need to do better wraparound services for our young people. There need to be places for them to go. There needs to be jobs for everybody's not going to college. Right. And it was hard for me to buy into that, being that I'm the first generational college student in my family, but everybody's not going to college. Some people want to be blue collared where they just go to work. They graduate, they either go into service or they decide, I don't want the service. I don't want to go to college. I just want to work. And we don't really have those type of jobs in Delaware like we used to. With now, I think the port is the only thing that's kind of still available, but it's not available. It's
not. And I mean, there will potentially be an expansion. I don't know now with the ongoing court case there. But again, there has to be a new focus on what is a growing workforce for the person who doesn't go to college here in the city of Wilmington. And I know a lot of people always get on my case about talking about this. One, at the end of the day, a lot of jobs you can be trained on the job. 2, college is unattainable for a lot of people who do want to go. Don't get me wrong. There's a lot of people who do want to go, but because of their current financial situation, even with financial aid, they can't get the resources they can, or they lack the engagement from their parents to help them fill out that FAFSA paperwork so that they can even get an opportunity potentially to go to a school. And I do want to give a shout out to Representative Stephanie Bowden, who has worked very hard to expand free access of Del State here in Delaware through our SEED program and other schools here in Delaware as well too. But again, that's a small step, right? You still have to fill out a lot of paperwork, and if you don't have that parent engagement, you are going to miss out. And that's nothing that a law can change or anything. That's just your living situation isn't the best. On top of that, kids are struggling right now. Delaware, we can't keep pushing college, right? Because college will make your life better. Well, these kids are having a horrible educational journey right now. Why is this? Because right now we are ranked 45th, 46th, 47th, depending on the year, in the nation. We're in the bottom 10 of the nation. Let me tell you the states that we're next to. We're next to Louisiana, Alabama, Mississippi, Arkansas. What do all those states have? They're down south racist states. What do we have here? And I know of J Street, I'm channeling my inner J Street right now. But we have a system that has failed to invest into our students. You can't just throw money at a school district, be like, hire more admin. Listen, I work with a ton of admin. They do good work. They mean well and everything. But at the end of the day, if it's not going into the classroom, if you're not bringing in extra, whether it's paraprofessionals, teachers, giving shrinking the class sizes, building more schools so class sizes could be smaller, not just building a new school for the outside to look all pretty, but the kids' grades are still sitting at 9% math proficiency, 11% reading proficiency. It's just, I call it cosmetic.
Right.
We
That's true.
have to get rid of the cosmetic effects. And I'm so disappointed in our community who was so happy about us here in Wilmington getting a new school building, but the grades didn't improve.
Yeah. And the building's open now, right?
The building's open.
Okay. And the grades didn't improve.
The grades didn't improve. And that's no shot towards anyone. I'm just saying we have to refocus on things, on what truly matters. That $50 million or $60 million, yes, it was good to get a new building here. Yes, did we need that building fixed up over there? Yeah. There's a few other schools in the city of Wilmington that need to be fixed up too, right? But most of that money could have went into the schools to actually help those students.
Yeah, well, teacher development as well as caring, because at one point when I went to school, being a first generational student of my family, we had counselors who worked with us from the 9th grade on to put us in the right trajectory if we had an interest in college, and making sure that whatever paperwork we needed, they would help us to the place where you go home and tell mom, look this over and sign it, so that we would be ready. But I don't think we still have that type of support in the school system. I want to, before we go to our break, I want to spend a couple of minutes talking about yesterday or this week when the Urban League had their annual breakfast. I had the opportunity to participate on the program, and thank you all for inviting me. But one of my favorite heroes, one who really speaks truth to power, one who really is often misunderstood, was your keynote speaker.
Yes.
I call him Dr. Eric, but
Dr. Michael Eric Dyson is absolutely amazing, dynamic. He ruffles feathers when he speaks. Yeah. But he delivers a message that needs to be heard. And in the time that we're in right now, I think the message that he delivered was right on time.
It was. And he gave hope to hopeless situations. And one of the things that he said, Coby, that I heard a couple people bring up, and I wanted, as a pastor, I want to kind of respond just in case any of the people are listening. And then, listen, there are pastors who are going to disagree with me. But he made a comment when he was trying to tell us to get rid of the self-reflection of racism that we have within ourselves, or bigotry that we have within ourselves. And he was saying, in order for us to heal from whatever we're hurting, we're going to have to start healing internally. And he talked about, even in the church, and sure, some of his language would not have been the language I would choose to use, but his message was on point. He talked, and when he spoke of the gay community, and he said, how especially the evangelicals, and how we, who are part of, whether it be the Baptist, the Pentecostal, or whatever, we speak out very strongly against gay people. And when he said that, it caught the attention of a lot of people. I'm sitting there at the table you all have for everybody. And when he said that, I was listening carefully because I needed to hear what he was going to say. He made comments such as, how is it that we can demonize gay people, but yet we won't demonize them in our choirs? We won't demonize them on our organs and who plays all the instruments in the church, and we know they're gay. But yet, outside of them, we are given this whole thing about God is going to send to hell every gay person. I am very much in agreement with him. I am very much in agreement with him.
I think, a part of that message there, in his overall message, right, when he was talking about everyone, he said that he believes that his God created everyone. And you can't, what did he call it?
He used some $3 word that I could
pretty much meaning that you believe in multiple gods if you don't believe that our God, who's a single God, who oversees us, didn't create us all how he envisioned us to be. And I thought that message was very powerful. Yes, there we go.
Yeah, I had to think of it.
Again, I was working the event, so I was moving around the whole time. But his words were so powerful. I saw a lot of shocked faces throughout the entire, 30 minutes he was talking. He went over a few minutes as well, too. It was all right. It was worth it. But again, he read the room. He knew what he had to talk about. And the interesting thing, and I know me and you just talked about this, was he had no notes.
None.
No notes.
Yeah.
And it was, he got there and he got dropped off at the wrong hotel, so I had to go pick him up from the right hotel, from the wrong hotel, and bring him to the right place where we were. So we were talking. He was like, yeah, I'm still trying to think about what I'm going to talk about today. And this was 15 minutes before he was supposed to go on. Yeah. I'm like, uh-oh. Yeah. But, you know, he did it all off the top of his mind. He's just a brilliant individual.
Yeah, I have all of his books, besides the latest one, but I have all of his books.
I definitely want to get the latest one. It's called Represent, the Unfinished Fight for the Vote. Everyone is sold out of it right now. It's on backlog for the next month. We were trying to get copies for everyone, but we couldn't get it anywhere. But I didn't know he had so many books. I know about 12 of them. I've read maybe about 8 of them. Yeah. But he has close to 50 books.
Yeah, he's been writing from all of his career. I mean, people know of him because of his voice now, but he's been writing, and as a student in theological seminary, I really took to him just like I did with Jeremiah Wright and others. But let me go back a little bit, because I want people to know that he's an ordained minister.
Yes.
And people thought that, his comments were so horrible, but I don't have to agree with a lifestyle. See, what I think you were trying to say that he had brought up was how a woman had come to him after he had finished preaching a sermon and said, "You're going to hell." And he said, well, yes. I know 21 reasons why I should go to hell, but you can acquaint me on what you feel why I'm going to hell. And the woman said to him that you're going to hell because you just said that God loves the gay people too. Let me be very honest with you. We have to stop the hypocrisy. And I think that this is what he was really trying to tell us to do. And I know we're going to move past this a little bit, but as a pastor, I'm not telling you that I support this, I support that, I support the other. What I am telling you that God made this whole universe. And if God is so angry with any community, whether it be black community, white community, whether it be the gay community, whether it be the straight community, then God would respond because he's God over the universe. What we have to learn to do is stop living in our hypocrisy. Hypocrisy in that we know that we got gay people sitting in our churches. We have gay people who are working in ministry, but yet we won't say anything because if we keep it then we still have a right and a license to demonize other people. Right is right and wrong is wrong, and we will never heal as a people as long as we always segregate each other from this is your group, this is the other group. And this is the message he was saying. So for all of you who were offended, look, I am very much in agreement with him. We have to stop being so segregated so that we look at God as being more than one. There's a God for this group. There's a God for another group. There's a God for another group. That is not the way it works. God loves us. God cares about us. And our job is to reflect his spirit. And his spirit is to love all despite of all. And that's all I wanted to say on that. So I'm going to take a commercial break and we'll be right back.
Join us live for our weekly worship. Every Sunday at 9 a.m. on Facebook and YouTube.
Well, Pastor, I'm doing the best I can, but I still gotta have a little Chardonnay, and I still gotta have a little this, and I gotta still sneak around. The devil is a liar. That's an excuse.
Wilmington's most exciting church.
Not today.
I'm here. You can tell me anything.
I see you. We're in this together.
Breakthroughs are happening.
Treatments are evolving.
The
The stats can change.
Society can change.
We can all say, not today.
Not today.
Not today.
Not today.
Not today.
If we're together, bound to be better. When we're together, together.
And we're back. Well, Coby, it's that time of the show that we all enjoy and people look forward to. Coby Corner, what's going on?
Yeah, so, I'm going to start with the craziness that is happening on the federal level. Over the last week, since Trump was elected to be president again, he has very quickly announced his cabinet picks. He hasn't announced all of them, but he has announced some same ones and some outrageous ones.
Yeah.
Of all the ones so far, and this is for a conservative and who I don't agree with, but I think will at least do the job decent enough that it won't cause chaos. He has nominated North Dakota Governor Doug Burgum, who actually ran for president this year, to be the Secretary of Interior. Interior oversees the federal parks, land, and stuff like that. They also oversee the creation of like presidential libraries and stuff like that. So again, this is who he picked for that. Now, for Veterans Affairs, he picked former Congressman Doug Collins.
Oh my God!
You may know him.
Yeah.
He was a U.S. Air Force Reserve Command. He ran in Georgia for Attorney General, lost really bad, but this was one of the more vocal members of the U.S. House who was talking about the election was stolen from Trump. He has picked him for Veteran Affairs. He also ran against Warnock and lost.
Yeah, but what people need to know about that horrible and egregious pick is that he don't believe women should be in combat. He doesn't believe a whole lot of things, and he is going to really show his bias if he's given the opportunity.
And I think he'll be one of the easier picks that the new Republican majority in the Senate will be able to get through. Next, he picked Dean John Soller to be Solicitor General. Again, this is the person who is credited with the Trump immunity case when he is going to be our Solicitor General, most likely. That is very interesting. Now, Trump took a play that was very interesting and picked a U.S. attorney for the Southern District of New York. Now, mind you, as an incoming president, these usually are what you do a few months after you're in office, you start picking these. But he nominated the former Security and Exchange Commission's chairman to be the U.S. attorney for the South District of New York, which is very prestigious, but it includes all of New York City. Very interesting pick there. For his Health and Human Services Secretary.
Lord, help me. Get ready.
He has nominated Robert F. Kennedy Jr., who is known to be an anti-vaxxer, who fought very hard against COVID-19 vaccines, ran for the Democratic nomination for a little bit, then switched to independent, then dropped out, and then asked both the Harris campaign and the Trump campaign, could he be in their cabinet? One said no, one said yes. You can obviously tell who said yes.
But you know what? Beyond just the conspiracy, because there's a lot of people who watch us and watch a lot of the press, and they say, well, I'm not really down with vaccines neither. But beyond that, he travels in conspiracies. That's why I am very alarmed with him. Conspiracies that create problems. But there was a report I saw on CNN a couple of days ago where he had gone to some country and he had got them to turn against, and they end up having an infestation of measles. So I just I have an issue.
We could have other breakouts here. But it was real interesting. I do have conservative friends who are Trump supporters who texted me once, Trump made this announcement, not in an official way, but on Twitter, of course, or Truth Social, and said, wait, he wants to ban Dr. Pepper and Coca-Cola. And I said, that's what y'all are upset with?
Yeah, that's it.
But y'all voted for this, so go ahead, get your sodas banned.
Yeah.
He has nominated former Democratic Congresswoman, former DNC vice chair who ran for president and then flipped and ran or became a Republican, endorsed Trump, Tulsi Gabbard from Hawaii, to be the director of national intelligence. She is a former service member as well. But again, she has started pushing a lot of conspiracy theories. And also, she got a lot of scrutiny when she was a member of Congress for meeting with the Syrian president back in 2017. For Secretary of State, which is an important role, especially on the national stage, especially with what's going on in Ukraine, what's going on in Gaza right now, he has picked U.S. Senator Marco Rubio to be the Secretary of State. Now, why this is interesting, Rubio and Trump ran against each other in 2016, but Rubio seat is now available for anyone to have. DeSantis, the governor of Florida, will get an opportunity to pick the replacement, and then there will be a special election there. There are multiple members of Congress. The other senator, Rick Scott, the former two-term governor, is pushing for Laura Trump, Eric Trump, Donald Trump's daughter-in-law, to be placed as the new senator there. She's currently one of the co-chairs of the RNC, and they are pushing very hard for that.
They ain't got to push too hard. All you got to do is say the word and it's going to happen.
Yeah, that's true. If confirmed, Rubio would be the first Latino to hold the role of Secretary of State, which is historic, but again, his policies are very dangerous. There is a new department being created called the Department of Government Efficiency, and it will be co-chaired, which doesn't seem to be too efficient at all. Right. It will be co-chaired by businessman Vivek Ramaswamy, who ran for president in 2024 against Trump, and billionaire Elon Musk. Now, I just want to say how big of a joke this is, because they named the office Department of Government Efficiency. Elon Musk has been a huge component of cryptocurrency, and he actually has a huge stock in a cryptocurrency called Doge. And he has been tweeting Doge to the moon to try to boost it and everything so that he can make even more money. And then they name a government office after this. Yeah. And if you look at it, since they named the government office after this, it has skyrocketed from less than a penny per price point to almost 60 cents per price point. So if you had millions of dollars in it already, you've made a pretty penny already. For Secretary of Defense, he has nominated Fox News anchor Pete Hegseth to be our next defense secretary. Now, Hegseth has had military experience with the Army National Guard and was deployed to Cuba, Afghanistan, and Iraq. But again, he's a Fox News anchor who he has nominated to that position. It's going to be very interesting because Joe Biden nominated a former 4-star general who Republicans came out and said, oh, I don't think he's qualified enough to be our defense secretary. And then the last one that I really want to, well, I want one more. National Security Advisor will be Representative Mike Walls, and U.S. Ambassador to Israel will be former Governor, Arkansas Governor Mike Huckabee. His daughter is now, Sarah Huckabee, is now the governor of Arkansas. He has nominated Homeland Security South Dakota Governor Kristi Noem, who also briefly ran for president.
Didn't he talk about Trump quite often?
Yes.
In a negative way? Yeah.
He has also nominated EPA, the Environmental Protection Agency Administrator Lee Zeldin, who ran for governor against Kathy Hochul. U.S. UN ambassador. He's nominated Elise Stokin, who used to be an anti-Trumper. But the worst pick possibly I have ever heard for any cabinet position is his nominee for Attorney General. And why I say this is because this man is under an ethics complaint investigation in the U.S. House. He boarded Trump Force One, begged Trump for a position. Trump said, okay, I will appoint you to AG. He resigned from this term, which ends January 3rd, not his next term that he was just elected to. And that is Matt Gaetz. Matt Gaetz is under investigation for having sex with a minor and sex trafficking other minors with business people down in Florida. His co-conspirator has already been convicted of this. And the ethics committee was scheduled to release a report at the end of the week detailing the interview they had with the young lady who is at the subject of this investigation, who came in and testified. Now, it has been leaked. The report hasn't been leaked, but it has been leaked by one of the people who was in the room for her testimony, where she provided evidence that they had a sexual relationship while she was still a minor. She's now an adult with the congressman while he was a congressman. Wow. Again, to pick someone, and Dr. Dyson and I even talked about, you pick someone even more egregious than you to be in charge of the organization that would hold you accountable, even though he has presidential immunity now. But this is a extremely concerning pick. I know I may be biting my own tongue here, but I do have a very slim hope that the GOP, I know the Democrats aren't going to vote for him, but at least 5 or 6 Republican senators will come out and say, no, we're not voting for him, even with Trump pushing hard for him.
Well, don't you have, the only way I think that could be possible is that you got people who are retiring when their seat is up.
So,
and that's one of the things I was going to ask you today. Do we have any people retiring or got 6 years out where they can go ahead and live through the storm?
So, yes. So the new senator from Utah, John Curtis, who's been in Congress for a long time, always been the even keel mind. He just won. So he has 6 years until his next election. You have Susan Collins, who's up in 2026, but has always been on the fence, especially when it comes to stuff like this. You also have Lisa Murkowski in Alaska, who's up in 2026, who has been on the fence and seen as a swing vote as well, too. But someone who is up in 26 but is most likely retiring is Mitch McConnell, who is no longer in leadership, who may be seen as, who has been very vocal about he does not like Trump, could be seen as one of the swing votes when it comes to this. Could be the new John McCain. Yeah. So again, this is going to be very interesting to see how this goes.
How many seats does the Republicans have in the Senate?
They have, as of right now, they have 52. PA is the only one that is going to an automatic recount. So we probably won't know the final results until November 26th of that recount.
Okay.
Yeah. So they have 52 right now, and they could have 53. Again, you would need, if it's 52, you would need Susan Collins, Lisa Murkowski, and McConnell to all flip. If it's 53, you would have to put a lot of pressure on John Curtis to flip, or vote not voting.
Yeah, I hope that the Democrats don't spend too much time arguing about this. Just vote their vote and put these other people on the record so that they can use this against them. Because I think that's one of the problems that Democrats have been having is they've been just trying to create problems for themselves. But about this whole thing with this Attorney General, it's a conspiracy thing going here. The reason why the last Speaker of the House was removed is because he allowed that investigation to go forward, and that's a problem. And I'm grateful that that he did. Now, I believe the report is going to get out one way or another. It's going to either be leaked or it's going to come out. But even when it comes out, like you said it very strongly, and that is he has just resigned from this Congress, but he has just been elected to the new one.
Correct.
Now,
he said he will not take the oath of office for the new Congress, which means he could delay it. This has happened before. It even happened here in Delaware. Joe Biden had his swearing-in delayed because of the accident that happened, right? Members-elect do have the opportunity to delay their swearing-in. Again, this could be something he could use. If he doesn't get the AG, he could try to go back into the
But does that report go away?
Congress. So the report ends because he's no longer a member of Congress. They would have to start all over again if he came back.
And then that ain't gonna happen.
I know.
All right.
But that's where we're at right now. I'm sure there will probably be some more bad picks coming out pretty soon. But moving closer to Delaware, I did want to talk about transition teams. So the governor-elect, Matt Myers, has selected his senior appointments to his incoming administration for the transition team, at least. So for the chief of staff is Vanessa Phillips for the transition team, not for his actual governor office. Wilson Davis will serve as chief legal counsel, and Evelyn Brady, who is a Network Delaware alum and a good friend of mine, will serve as the transition director. They have set up a new website in which, if you're interested in serving in his administration and Governor-elect Myers' administration, or you're looking for appointments to boards, commissions, and stuff like that, they do have a website in which you can submit things to as of right now. And again, that is the website is transition.delaware spelled out .gov. And you can go on there, you can submit your resume, you can submit comments on what you think the administration should be paying attention to. The transition team will be having some policy roundtable conversations, engaging community leaders as well too. All that will be public. On top of that, both Marcus Henry, who is the incoming county executive, the first Black county executive in Newcastle County's history. His transition team is also up. And then here in Wilmington, John Carney has formed his full team. It's a 40-person team that he announced the other day as well too. You can go to his website if you're interested in anything. It's www.johncarney.org/transition. And the chairs of that is former Councilman Kevin Kelly and Deanne Damon will be who co-chair the Delaware Prosperity Partnership, will be the co-chair with Kevin Kelly. They have multiple subcommittees, so they have efficient government, they have jobs and economic development, they have stronger neighborhoods, they have vibrant communities, and those are the 4 or 5 subcommittees that they have formed so far.
Okay, good.
All right, but moving along, because I know I'm tight on time here, there has been a new proposal, something I have been talking about, but I guess now the council wants to jump on it, has proposed a tax on weed. on a sale of weed here in the city of Wilmington to create a new revenue source for the city. But on the other end, there's also a potential ban coming as well too. So they're going to be conflicting resolution or ordinances there, and we will see how that all turns out. The last thing, because I do get a lot of questions, I've gotten questions from people who say they watch the show. I am not a councilman just yet. I'm just councilman-elect. But I did want to let y'all know, so the whole timeline for everyone. So members of Congress get sworn in. So Lisa Blunt Rochester and Sarah McBride get sworn in on January the 3rd at noon. For Newcastle County Executive, Marcus Henry, he gets sworn in on January 7th at 10 a.m. and that'll be at the Route 9 Library. Wilmington City Council, the mayor and the treasurer, we all get sworn in later that day at 7 p.m. Location hasn't been determined yet. We get sworn in at that time all together. And that'll be our organizational meeting. On January 14th, the General Assembly gets sworn in. That's when they elect a new speaker. That's when they elect the president pro temp. That's when Bethany will be acting governor as of January 7th. She will become governor from January 7th to January 21st when Governor-elect Matt Myers is sworn in and Lieutenant Governor-elect Kyle Evans-Gay is sworn in. At that point, we will have 2 open spots in the state Senate. One for SD1 and one for SD5, Sarah McBride's OC and Kyle Evans-Gay's OC. So there will be more elections that I will be talking about. We're not done through the cycle yet. So probably through
So the
February.
governor doesn't appoint a person when
No,
there's
only for U.S. Senate.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. So
Okay.
And that's all I have for today.
Well, I got. We don't have any more time, but I do want to say that with the swearing in, once you're all swearing in is by ticket only. Am I correct?
Yes. Yeah.
Okay, yeah. So I'm looking forward to that, and a lot of people are believing that you already are a council person because they're sitting. Make sure Coby knows this. Make sure Coby knows that. But Coby, I just wish you and all of the new council all the blessings and the favor as possible because there's a lot of challenging things that are happening in our city and around the city, and I hope that you all go in with a sturdy mind and don't get distracted.
Yes.
Because that's the key for the success for the city. We're not going to get distracted and we're going to make sure we move forward. We're going to take a quick commercial break and we'll be right back. This is Pastor Curry, pastor of the East Zion Fair Baptist Church, Wilmington's most exciting church, the church that love ya and anything you can do about it. What we're going to do today is we're going to have a real good conversation. I'm excited. Come on! Every Sunday at 11 a.m. Why don't you call somebody real quickly? Tell them Coffee with Curry is on. And let's get after it.
Christopher Holton. I'm very active. It was a Saturday morning. Normally I go for my normal walk.
With no warning, Chris suffered a near fatal heart attack. But thankfully, Brian Buckley, a bystander, saw him collapse and rushed to help.
He did this big gasp for air and then just stopped. It's like I went into autopilot. It's like all that training I did back in the day around CPR just magically came out of nowhere.
Because of the CPR training that Brian received, Chris did make it and didn't die on the trail that day. CPR training provided by the American Heart Association.
Looking at your hands, these 2 hands could save a life.
Being a father, you want to be around. You want to be around for your kids.
Heart disease is America's #1 killer. To learn more about how the American Heart Association helps save lives, go to helpheart.org.
As a mom, I want my kids' lives to be filled with joy and possibility. And I want that for every kid. That's why I support No Kid Hungry. They work in schools and communities to make sure every kid gets the healthy meals they need. Please join me in supporting No Kid Hungry for all kids.
And we're back. As we added to our show, The State of the Politics, Coby, it's still troubling me. I'm not worried. I'm not stressed out anymore. Trump is going to be the 47th president. I'm fine with that. There's going to be a whole lot of stuff people are going to be very angered about.
Mm-hmm.
I'm fine with that. Because what I did was I went and dug up the numbers. In 2020, 155 million people voted, okay? And they were sick and tired of Trump, and they came out and they voted. In 2024, 149 million voted. That's almost 6 million votes that people just did not vote. Now, we can blame it on misogyny, we can blame it on this, we can blame it on that. But when I dug a little bit deeper, the majority of people who weren't voting were Democrats.
Yeah.
How do we explain this?
Yeah, one, going into this election, I already knew it was, but it's voter fatigue. People are tired of the same old, same old. You had normal Democrats who said, oh, I'm not going to vote this time because Joe Biden promised to cancel my student loans, and he didn't. No, he did.
Yeah.
And then the Republicans filed a motion in the courts to get it stopped, right? You have to understand the whole situation. Oh, well, he's president. He could just overturn the courts. No, not with a Supreme Court that was appointed by his predecessor, right? We have a 6-3 majority. And I think people don't understand that. I think we as Democrats did a horrible job messaging that, right? So again, we have a lot of work to do to get better with communication, messaging, and just on the ground basic information about what's truly going on.
Yeah, well, that and some of our policies are going too far to the left. One of the things I'm concerned about when I watch Trump message to people, he put on a commercial in the Pennsylvania area and a couple other swing states where the trans person was playing on, it was a grown-up trans. What is the right language to be using for that? Am I using the right language? Okay. There was a grown-up transgender person playing on a little league basketball team, and that affected some people because it affected me. You know, here your child is playing the sport that is designated for their gender, but not only do you have a person who is not their gender, but you got an older person who really is, they try to make it look like this is what the Democrats is pushing for.
So yeah, I want to talk about that because people fall in to these aha, got you things, right? So again, the vast majority of trans athletes are trans boys, which means they were born a girl and now identify as a guy.
Okay.
You don't hear them talking about that, right? Why? Because, oh, they already assume they're at a disadvantage when going up against guys. Now, what they're saying is, oh, but if a guy comes to a girl sport, then it's a issue and we don't want that and everything. But then I counter with saying, how many trans athletes do you know?
Very good answer. Very good question, brother.
So we have these big NCAA, DIAA, right? That track all this, right? So again, you're never going to have a grown adult playing with youth at CYO or at, in DIAA, right? They track this vigorously, right? You have to show proof of age. So the whole age thing is not going to come into it. But in 2023, right, the last reported year, and we'll see the reported numbers, there was 55 transgender girls playing in sports in America. 55.
Out of over 200 million people.
Out of how many athletes do you know?
Yeah.
Each football team carries about a 53-man roster if they can fill up their roster. A basketball team carries about 15 people. A baseball team carries about 40 people, maybe 30. A soccer team carries about 30 to 40 individuals, right? 55 transgender girls.
Mm-hmm. Now, when I spoke of that messaging, though, the imagery sometimes you can't get out of people's heads.
I know.
And make them angry because it angered me. Now, I want to move that a little bit further and just share that some of the things we even experienced on this show, where people get set in a position and they
won't move on.
They won't move.
Yeah.
Do you feel that the tent is too big? We pay attention. No. Do you think that we pay attention to too much in the tent instead of? Because that's what I'm trying to say. I'm not going to say too big because we should be. We're a democracy and we should have thoughts and different ideas. But do you think sometimes we pay attention to the left too far?
I don't think so. I think, the far right and the far left aren't the same thing. So the far left is called the far left because they want to care for everyone. They want to make sure everyone has a fair opportunity. Maybe about 60, 70 years ago, you do the math. Back in the 60s, right, when Dr. King said, hey, I want a fair right to vote like everyone else, that was considered far left, right? That was considered radical thinking. Now, who was the more radical one? That's up to debate between Malcolm and Dr. King when it comes to policy, right? But at the end of the day, anything that the right doesn't agree with, they call it radical and out of control. And then they try to justify why it is. And let's look at city council, right? They consider me radical because why? I want to give a break to the single mother or to the grandmother who's raising kids and not get her water bill shut off. That's radical. But then y'all do the same thing and don't shut off y'all will shut them off, but won't shut off the corporation who owes even more money, who owes 50 times what that grandmother owes. You want to raise our taxes, right? You want to raise our water bill taxes or water and sewer taxes, right? But then you want to give a break to a developer because they're already getting a 15-year tax abatement, but doesn't want to pay another $85,000 per year for rental inspections to make sure their units are up to code.
Yeah, but I don't see that. You're right. You're not really saying to me specifically, but I don't see that as you being far right, far left.
Right, but that's the narrative, right? So if you hear it from one side,
that is good policy. What's not good policy is when, if I don't get it my way, because this is I believe that the budget should totally be spent. That's what I'm calling it extreme. Totally be spent on your agenda, as opposed to understanding we have a full city.
That's true. But who in power has had the opportunity to do that?
Who have had the opportunity to what?
To change how the budget is spent.
Well, no, but I don't. I think what happens is some of Kamala's policies that they brought back made people believe that she was more to the left than she had been earlier.
Right. And let's talk about the tax credit. She wanted to give a 6,000 child tax credit that would help lift people out who are struggling right now, who will be below the poverty line, right? That would help lift them out, right? People said that was too radical, right? But yet Trump is talking about giving tax cuts of millions of dollars to businesses.
I see.
What's the difference?
Well, there is no difference, but there is a difference because this is at a much larger scale. What Trump is asking, we're gonna pick this up again because I really want to talk about this because I'm really mesmerized that 6 million people decided I'm not going to vote, and this guy got back in. I don't want to hear all this crying, this complaining. People who didn't vote, they're the reason why we're in the predicament because Trump doesn't have no mandate to be as egregious as he's going to be, but he making it look like it because he won the popular vote and he won every last one of those swing states. shocked me to another level. But listen,
especially PA.
Yeah, that shocked me too. But it is what it is. Well, what we're going to do, Coby, we're going to call it quits for this week, and we're going to try to come back again. Is there anything left on your table that we need to do?
That's all I have.
I want to say thank you to the Urban League. I feel that y'all did a phenomenal job with that breakfast, the speaker, the food, even the guy who did the invocation. I just think y'all just, from the top to the bottom, y'all did a very good job. And I pray that God will continue to bless the Urban League, because there's a lot of work for y'all to do now. I mean, giving this man in office, y'all got a lot of work to do. Till the next time, God bless.
Take care, y'all.
You've been watching The Sword with host Dr. C.T. Curry and co-host Coby Owens. Tune in every Sunday at 5 p.m. Thanks for watching, and don't forget to subscribe for the latest episodes.